The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on Sunday.
This is about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when we run away from it.
Guns up! Giddy up! I was gonna let dead air be there just until wait for hours. I don't know. How long would it go on until Eric said something?
Baby, come on!
I don't know, man. I see you talking crap. Welcome to Failure to Stop podcast, guys. We can't stop. We won't stop. It is the best podcast on the internet, wherever or in the universe where law enforcement meets culture. I dare anyone to challenge us otherwise. That includes you, Sean Larkin.
Ooh,
and your podcast.
We still haven't gotten on cocktails and cocktails yet.
not yet.
I'm all
not
in on
yet.
some
I don't know.
Baby.
I see you talking crap in the chat because we do broadcast this show live on YouTube. We're back, by the way, on YouTube. We got suspended, but I'm back. I had a 7 day solitary confinement. The warden, the Google warden, decided that we were harassing and bullying people. I don't know who. But we had a little sit down. They wanted me to have a come to Jesus moment on my channel. But we're back. So for those of you that know, we broadcast live on YouTube and Facebook for the show every Friday at 11 in the morning. So when we talk about the chat, that's what we're talking about, the live chatters. And you're sitting here talking crap to me before the show starts recording about Florida. Because I just got back from a trip to Florida, and now you're like, oh, I'm from Florida, baby. And the comments
yeah,
Florida, yeah, man. Somebody's like, Florida here. And you're like, yeah, I'm from St. Augustine. Or Augustine, or however you guys say it. I don't know. Is it Augustine or Augustine?
That's the problem there is that the Yankee, that's the problem with Florida, is that the Yankees go down there, and then they do all the things that the Yankees do up in Yankee Town. But then they try to, like, put that culture into St. Augustine, like calling it Augustine, or whatever you say. I like to hear this a lot of times is they'll say, can I get a hot dog, y'all? And you're like, wait, what did you just fucking say?
You just mixed up so many accents.
That's what they do over there. That's what they do down there. They come down to St. Augustine. They live there for 10 years. And then they're like, yeah, I'm a Floridian. Like, bitch, you ain't no Floridian. Like, go back to New York or whatever. And then, but you listen, Florida sucks. It's got mosquitoes, snakes, scorpions, alligators, sharks.
Michigan has mosquitoes. Michigan has snakes. Michigan has brown recluse.
It doesn't have all the snakes. I guarantee you it doesn't have as many poisonous snakes as Florida has.
Listen, man. I
saw sharks.
I saw a little lizard. I saw a little lizard at my Airbnb. That was nice.
Oh, that's cute.
It was cute.
Was it a lizard people?
Cute little lizard. People? I don't know. Anyway, guys, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for listening, taking the time out of your drive or day or whatever it is that you're doing to listen to us idiots blather on about law enforcement cases and such every Friday. Or when you're hearing this, maybe it's a weekend, or maybe you're catching up. Maybe you found an episode a few weeks ago and you're catching up, and we appreciate that too. We don't ask much from you guys, honestly. Other than just support us, how we can be supported. That's failuretostop.com. You can grab your merch there, or you can support our sponsors. We've got 3 today: Ghostbed, Cardomax, and Mint Mobile. And you can support our sponsors with our codes there if that's something that is jiving with a need or a desire in your life. So you can support our sponsors. We'll talk about them in detail later. But really, honestly, the best way that you can possibly support our show is to go to Apple Podcasts, follow the show there, do a rating, write a review. That is the best way. And share the show. If we've added value or entertainment to your life and you like it, you enjoy it, share the show. Tell people about it. Spread the word on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram is Failure to Stop. And now we're on YouTube. We're migrating content over to our own YouTube channel, Failure to Stop. I don't know if you can find it when you search for it yet. We should, because we have a couple of videos now.
I did the last time I
underpaid producer will drop a link in the chat to that. But if we're on our own YouTube channel now. There's no reason we shouldn't have 500 subscribers after this show. There's no reason. We're at 227 last night when I looked.
In January, you and I are going to be making some content together, which will go on the Failure to Stop channel. So don't wanna
Yeah,
miss out.
we're going to be in Austin. So maybe we'll have a little get together while we're
Yeah,
down
we
there.
need to go out and have some
Little
beers with some Austin cops.
the kick off the morale tour in Austin. we'll meet up with some cops there and show our love for the boys in blue and the girls in blue, I guess.
I was actually wearing my I Love Cops shirt, my I Heart Cop shirt. That's on featherstop.com yesterday. And my son achieved something amazing, which I had
I
promised
saw
him
you
if
went
we
to the Golden
did it.
Corral for the first
Yes,
time.
the
Your
first
kids
time
went
you'd
to a
ever been to a
buffet for the
buffet.
first time.
First time. And I don't know if you've been to a Golden Corral lately. And I don't know if maybe it's just where we went to Golden Corral, but definitely one type of demographic or two types of demographic, but very gross. A lot of very overweight, just disgusting human beings in there. It's really is a stereotype. But I had my I Heart Cops on shirt, and I got stopped by one man and said, he's like, yeah, man, nice choice of shirt to be wearing. But he said it like very like angrily, like, I'm pissed off that you're wearing that shirt. And then I had another old man follow me to the bathroom and said, young man, before you step in there, I just wanted to walk over here. You're a lot faster than me. And I just wanted to tell you that I like your shirt. I assume that you love cops. And I said, yep, I do love law enforcement. And he's like, are you law enforcement? I said, no. And he kind of looked at me like, oh, well, then this is weird. Like,
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Speaking of overweight people, well, the Golden Corral, you sit there and just shovel food into your face. Which, by the way, at least one of your sons, I don't know if it was all of them, they had an interesting dessert. Dude, there was like gummy bears on top of God knows what, and I don't know what was going on over there.
So going to a restaurant in my family is a big deal. Me being a sommelier, certified special wine, dining, beverage, that whole industry is really important to me. And so they have to respect it. And they know that at a restaurant, behavior, that's when it's like going to church for me. Like they have to be on their best.
Yeah, but no, you just let them run in circles with an iPad, right?
No, absolutely not. And so when they got to Golden Corral, they didn't quite understand like the totality of it all. So I had to like really instruct them. I'm like, dude, we get whatever you want on your plate, sit down. And they took some bites and everything. I was like, hey guys, stop. Like, let's just go get another plate right now. And they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, just leave that plate here. And Duke's like, but I'm not done. I was like, yeah, but don't you want to try some other stuff? And he was like, yeah. I was like, let's go. And so we ended up like they started like kind of, we stayed there for like an hour and a half. They slowly started understanding it. And like, they were literally just filling up plates, taking like 3 or 4 bites, running up there. I mean, they tried everything. And then when it came to dessert time, of course they wanted all the desserts. So we did
heck yeah.
all the pies, all the cakes, all the ice creams, the gummy bears. I mean, I just let them go. I mean, I was really proud of them. I mean, they earned the right to go to Golden Corral. So like, it was a special bonding moment, I guess you said.
I dig it. Some people, before I get into my fat person rant, which I'm going to not forget, great. That's going to get me for harassment and bullying now that I think about it. When I talk about fat people.
My wife is not happy the whole time because like her thing is we haven't been to a buffet in like 20 years. Neither one of us has ever been, like since high school.
Yeah, she did not look thrilled to go in.
And she was like devastated, but like fucking she went all in, dude. Like her plates were bigger than mine.
Well,
so
she's eating for 2, baby.
Yeah, well, it's true.
Your young female Tansies got to get that nutrition.
Yeah, gonna have a fat body.
People were asking about the Tuesday show. There was not a Tuesday show. I was out of town. I was just in Florida. It was a fun trip, and that's why I'm giving Tansey crap about talking shit about Florida. Now, he did grow up there or whatever, supposedly. I mean, I don't have any proof of that. But I was down at St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Tampa Bay, that whole area, having fun. It was great. Loved it. I love that area of Florida. I don't like Orlando. It's a lie. That place is just plasticky. It's just I don't like that area of the state. I don't like the middle part. I don't like going toward Jacksonville, that whole stretch. I don't. But and then you got the Panhandle part. The Panhandle part is pretty much downriver Detroit with a beach, where I'm from.
Yeah, I mean that's ran by Scott Rogers. So
yeah, there's definitely a Panhandle Wolfpack chapter. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean,
but anyway, I want to.
Destin is all right.
I want to explore the East Coast more. There's more to do. I want to get down to the Keys. There's a lot of stuff I want to do. But that's where we were. So there was no show, and man, yeah, I didn't want to do a show while I was out of town on this little vacacion with mi esposa, and this is where the fat people come in. We're on the plane coming back, and we were fortunate enough to catch an upgrade on the way there to first class, which was awesome. Loved it. So much less stress in that situation. I already hate being on a germ rocket as it is, and so it's the best case scenario for the worst scenario. And so then, obviously, that was only one part of the trip. Not obviously, but that was only one part of the trip. So we're back in the regular part of the regular part of the plane with the regular peasants. Anyway, there's this dude. He's probably in his 60s, maybe early 70s, and he's huge, man. He's huge. He's super tall, and he's enormous. And him and his wife have 2 seats, and then there's another dude that is sitting next to them, and I just felt terrible. And we had one person next to me, fortunately, normal-sized person, sitting down. I told my wife that what it should be is that if you are over 250 pounds, you should have to only sit with other 250-pound plus people, and you should all be forced to sit next to each other. You fat passenger people, stop it. Yeah, like I was gonna say a lot more worse things, but listen, dude, it's already bad enough that the plane maximizes its space for profit instead of actual comfortability of its passengers, and you're crammed in there, and then you get somebody that's 325 freaking pounds, and their roles are like crowding into your personal space, encroaching or whatever. It's especially for somebody like me that hates people in their personal space. It's a big stress. I don't like people standing close to me. Like I just especially I know. I understand that.
Jiu-jitsu. You have.
I know it's an anomaly.
Your personal space for hours at a time, almost every
Linda
day.
Green says I suck. I don't know. Why do I suck? Anyway,
I will say that I've sat next to somebody on a plane who brought their own seatbelt extender into the plane, and I was like, I hate life.
So listen, my only thing was, hey, they should have to sit next to each other. Why can you jack up my life?
Or if the people that are wearing pajamas on the airplane, they have to sit next to the fat people.
What is it?
The pajamas, the people that wear their pajamas on the airplane, their pajama pants.
Yeah. Have you ever followed the account Passenger Shaming on Instagram?
No, but I'm all in.
Oh,
right
it's so so good, dude.
I believe in my heart of hearts that shaming should come back for the sole purpose that it would prevent people from wearing fucking joggers or dressing like a peasant on an airplane. You're not a peasant. Peasants take the bus or the train.
All right, Jason JD Davis. I get this, right? One of my best friends is like 6'4" and 300 pounds, and he's not. You wouldn't look at him and go, "Oh, he's fat." So I get that when I'm using these words, right? You should have to sit with other people your size. The plane seating should be by size. Myself included. Hey, I'm 208 and I'm 5'9". 5'9", 208. This is what I'm doing. So I should have to sit in a range with people that are like 5'7" to 5'10", 190 to 210. That's who I should sit next to. That's only fair.
This just feels like segregation to me.
Terrible.
I don't know. It should be the law. People are like, what does this have to do with law enforcement? Well, because it's the FAA. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, flying sucks these days. Everything.
The bald, toxic men should also sit next to each other.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm toxic because I call people what they are. Shut up.
Yeah,
You want harassment and bullying? If you want me to get banned for harassment and bullying, I'm bullying you. Grow up, man.
We're gonna
grow up. Dear YouTube, ban me for this. Grow up, random commenter.
I'm just like, my biggest pet peeve though is literally people dressing like peasants on an airplane. It just drives me nuts. I want to go back to the days where you had to wear jeans and a collared shirt. Like if you're a dude and you wear sandals, it's like saying, I want to be a victim when this plane crashes. like I want to be ready. I want to have my shoes on. I want to
Yeah,
have socks,
see,
I
I
wanna
got
have
a buddy of
I
mine.
want to have them jeans. I want to be ready. Like if there's a terrorist on the plane, I want to be able to whoop some ass. I want to have like good ass whooping clothes on. So like when you show up and you're wearing your slippers and your pajamas, it's like saying like, hey, I'm just a victim. I'm just gonna sit here and hope that somebody else, some alpha, takes care of this.
I have a buddy of mine that I worked with. His brother's a pilot, and he's of this old school. That was the old school travel mentality, right? Hey, you dress up to go on a plane. It was a big deal, right? Kind of like the Golden Corral, but in the air. Right. It's a big deal when you go out, like you dress up, and now you got people that just wear pajamas and they're walking to the airport with their neck pillow on and whatever. I don't dress up. But I don't dress down either. I don't know.
No, I don't dress up, but I wear like jeans, tennis shoes, socks. I bring a jacket.
Oh, bare feet on a plane. I don't even know how you have any self-respect for yourself if you're willing to put your bare feet in and on things in a plane, then that's your issue. That's a personal problem for sure. Listen, guys. That was a tangent I didn't plan on, but we on today's show we're going to talk about Alec Baldwin, Officer Dages refunding the police in San Francisco, someone dying from a stun gun, from a taser, getting tased, and let's see, Kim Potter. We're doing a full breakdown.
We got to get started. It's going to be a long show.
Whoa.
Going to be a long one. Buckle in. Pull out your seatbelt extenders.
Jason, some people are taking this super serious, man.
Only
Jason,
people on
I can't
Facebook
I can't post this comment because it contains a sexual orientation slur. I'll jujitsu your ass. I'm 300 pounds. I wish you'd talk shit out in public. I'm saying this in public, you idiot. This is public. It's public on the internet. I'm saying it.
It's all
I'm in Flat Rock. I'm in Flat Rock, Michigan right now. Fly your fat butt on a plane right here, right now, with all 300 pounds. I'll jujitsu with you. I'm right here.
Yeah.
I don't care.
With you. We've done jujitsu together.
I'm online. I'm making jokes, man. You suck my left nut.
Yeah. He just got back from vacation, so he's all jacked up right now. He's all amped. Probably still got a little pina colada. Still pushing through his veins right now. So he's talking really big, Jason. But dude, we mean it all in love, dude. It's just do I, look, I'm pushing 220, baby. But I need to lose weight. But anyway, I do.
I need to lose weight too. Like, I'm a fatty.
300 pounds. Like,
gosh, why do people take everything so personal, man? Yeah, you think I'm really gonna segregate a plane by weight, you dumbasses?
Yeah, it's all just jokes.
It's not real. It's not real.
Comedy is dead. We can't.
Oh my gosh.
So.
No one's doing this. It's made up. It's made up. And you're freaking out. Idiots. Go back home and grow up again.
Man, what did you put in your coffee this morning? You're juiced.
I'm just sick of idiots, man.
Juiced up.
I've had it up to here.
You go to Florida, you get fed up with idiots. Because that's what.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe Florida's not healthy for me.
Oh, okay. Jason's joking. He's not.
I know, Jason. I'm not taking any of this seriously.
No, a different Jason is who we're talking about.
Oh yeah, no, it's Jason Estrada was the other guy.
That's why I don't even look at the comments over there.
Anyway, we got a big show. It's brought to you by Ghostbed. My Airbnb did not have a Ghostbed, by the way. It was very stiff mattress. It wasn't sleeping so good. It was scary. I'll tell you that.
Well, yes, I guess to kick off this show today, because it's going to be a long one, we'll go ahead and knock out a couple of these ads really fast. Today's show is brought to you by Ghostbed. And guess what? It's the flash sale that never ends. It's the flash sale that never ends. Yes, it goes on and on, my friends. Some people started using it, not knowing what it was. They continued using it forever just because we love Ghostbed. They've been a loyal sponsor for the last 5 years. Everybody raves about them. They have super comfortable mattresses that last forever and ever and ever. And they're made in the good old USA.
USA. I missed it, man. I was taking my jacket off. Sorry.
Jet lag. Every mattress has a 20-year warranty. Some even have 25. You can try them out for 101 nights. If you don't like it, you can send them back. No hard feelings, but you won't. One of our favorite parts about Ghostbed is that each mattress has that cooling technology. So if you're from hot-ass Florida, where it's like right close to the sun, that cooling technology really comes in handy, so you can stay hard at night while staying cool, baby. Ghostbed offers bundles so that you can get everything you need. You don't even have to really think about it. Just choose from their 4 mattresses and then pick your bundles, whether you just need a mattress and a frame or you want it all. I want it all. I want it all. And I want it now. Before Christmas. Like a cooling pillows and sheets, you can get the best bang for your buck. Right now, Ghostbed is offering 40% off the Ghostbed bundles, where you get a mattress and adjustable base, or 30% off of everything if you use that code Drinkin Bros, DRINKIN Bros at ghostbed.com/Drinkin Bros. You can buy a mattress for $35 a month, 0 down, 0% financing. And that's if you have firefighter credit. Firefighter credit, baby. Go check out ghostbed.com.
No, volunteer firefighter credit.
Ooh, it's even better. Check out ghostbed.com/Drinkin Bros. Listen, it is the gift that literally keeps on giving and giving and giving. When you open up that gift and you see that your first responder sees that he's got a bed, he's like, dope, I got a fucking new bed. And then he goes and he lays down on that bed at night. He's like, holy shit, I'm laying down on a ghost bed. How exciting. Then he wakes up from that beautiful night's rest. He's like, I can't believe I just woke up. It literally just keeps going and going, going. It's a gift that just keeps you happy forever. So there we go. Do you want me to do another ad read, or do you want to forever? Obviously, Mike is jacked up on some Cardomax right now. Probably sucking down that new grape energy or watermelon, which is my favorite. If you're dragging through your day, ditch the cheap coffee, sugar-packed energy drinks for a Navy SEAL approved source of energy. Cardomax Energy Intensifier. Cardomax Energy Intensifier uses the least amount of ingredients as possible. There's absolutely no junk in there to give you the energy you need to optimize your workouts or whatever else you need a boost for. Work, dealing with the kids at some ungodly hour of morning, driving the long haul, whatever it is, Cardomax will keep you going. Owned and operated by a former Navy SEAL, but even cooler than being a Navy SEAL, he is a fellow
Drinking bro.
Sean Matson. Cardomax Energy Intensifier comes in easy to mix liquid packet. Comes in 4 great flavors: blue raspberry, pink lemonade, grape, and my favorite, watermelon. It has B3s, B6, B12 vitamins, caffeine, BCAAs. It tastes great. The ingredients are healthy. It's made by a veteran and a drinking bro, and that's why we love Cardomax. When we need a clean, healthy pick-me-up, every first responder should have a couple of Cardomax packets in their cars. Cardomax is offering Failure to Stop listeners an exclusive offer, 30% off your next 4 orders. Go to cardomax.com. Use that promo code WOLFPACK. That is CARDOMAX.com. Use the promo code WOLFPACK, and you will get 30% off your next 4 orders. Cardomax.com, helping you achieve your max.
Ooh, yeah. Love it, baby. Hey, anytime any of you get a ghost bed, or you're sleeping on a ghost bed, or you're using Cardomax, hey, send us a message on Instagram, Failure to Stop, and we will share it on our story. We appreciate you guys supporting the sponsors. Keep the show moving and growing. Love it.
All right, let's go.
Our friend Alec Baldwin is back in the news. This case continues to develop. His cell phone is now a matter. They are seeking to get into his cell phone because he has mentioned that there have been emails or text messages with production staff leading up to the event. So therefore,
and this is what happens when you don't shut the fuck up, right? When you
Yes.
do something like this that puts you out in the public notice, the best thing you can do is just shut the fuck up and let these things happen. He ran his mouth. He told all these stories. And one, I think it's a little bit weird. He keeps, like, it's an ongoing investigation, yet he puts the entire investigation out on the news with all this theatrics and dramatizations. Really, really has people talking and questioning things. Nobody would even give a fuck about this right now. With everything going on in the world, nobody would give 2 shits about this shooting at this point in time, except Alec Baldwin can't shut the fuck up. So it's still,
he's got to keep himself out there. So can you pull that back up there, Lodge? I just want to kind of read through. It says, almost 2 months after the fatal shooting, Rust cinematographer Helena, I don't want to butcher her name. I'm not trying to. Helena or Helena Hutchins, I'm not sure. By Alec Baldwin on the New Mexico set of low-budget Western Santa Fe. Police want to look at the Emmy winner's iPhone for more information. Affian is requesting a warrant for the seizure and search of Alec Baldwin's phone to search for any evidence relating to the death investigation, said Sheriff Office Detective Alexandria Hancock in a search warrant approved by a judge today. Affian believes there may be evidence on the phone due to the individuals using cellular phones during and or after the commission of crimes. The affidavit goes on to say, such information, if it exists, may be material and relevant to this investigation. Affiant was also made aware that there were several emails and text messages sent and received regarding the movie production Rust in the course of interviews. Those interviews then drew attention to the detectives like, yeah, you know what, we should probably look at that phone.
Yeah,
right?
and here's the interesting part about what Alec Baldwin said, that he wanted the gun to be a period Colt. And he said there were emails transferred back and forth between Hannah and him where she showed him different styles of gun. And he said that he requested a bigger gun. And she also showed him different styles of knives for the production. Alec was shown a Colt with a brown handle and a cherry handle. And he ultimately chose the one with the brown handle. So like, of all the odds, right, of which gun's going to have a fucking real bullet in it. You know what I mean? Like the whole thing stinks of something bad happened here. I don't think that this was, I mean, well, I shouldn't say I don't think it is. But what I'm saying is that there is enough about this case that it could, more probably than not be an accident, right?
Right. I mean,
Enough
that's
that you should
we've
be
talked
keeping your
about that.
mouth shut
We've
and we
talked
should be
about that
doing-
before.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, why does the mainstream media, or why does a majority of people end up assuming this is an accident, right? Why would we assume that it's an accident when someone was killed, right? Accidents happen. It may turn out that it was an accident, but it's like everybody had already made up their mind in a day. Oh, it was an accidental discharge, or somebody else messed up. And it's just everybody like Alec Baldwin, who pulled the trigger or smashed the hammer, released the hammer, whatever he said, whatever he's claiming happened. He's the one that did it. He has to be held responsible. There has to be a proper investigation. And so that warrant for his phone, which has not yielded any new news yet. Obviously, they're not going to be like, oh, as soon as we find what we're looking for here or find good information, we're going to share it with everybody. That's not going to happen. But it's the 5th search warrant that's been drawn up and approved in this case. And
Which I'm surprised that search warrant took that long for the phone. You think that'd be like one of the first things that they pull a search warrant for? I know, like in a lot of cases that I work, back when I was on the line, the cell phone would be like one of the first things that you go after. You seize the cell phone, you put it into evidence. The cell phone
right away. Right away. Everybody's phone would have been taken, put it into a Faraday bag so that you can't shut it off, you can't change anything, you can't delete anything. Just grab everybody's
charger that goes with it.
Any phone that would have been on that set would have been confiscated.
Yeah, which is crazy.
It's a good point. It's a good point.
When a cop really fucks up, the first thing they do is take their phone. I mean, that's why I have a little card in my pocket. Some people have the little DUI instruction cards in their pocket. Mine just said destroy my laptop and my phone immediately upon.
Chuck it into the ocean.
Because there's really fucked up things on my phone, guys.
Shanio, I think so, right? His comment again, I'm gonna bring that up real fast. He makes a very valid point.
Yeah. He's right. No such thing as an accidental discharge.
Which is funny because
only
we're
negligent.
going to be talking about negligent a lot today. So that's a good word to keep in mind.
This is a great point because Alec Baldwin needs to be held accountable just like Kim Potter has to be held accountable. Right. If you have a firearm in your hand, you and you alone are responsible for what happens with it.
Right. But there is legally a difference between negligence and an accident. And I know that it's kind of popular in law enforcement like it's a trend in law enforcement right now to say there's no such thing as an accident, only negligence. Well, according to the law, there are accidents. So this was just some kind of a training thing that somebody came up with, that there is no such thing as an accident. Well, legally, there is such thing as an accident. And then there's negligence, and then there's recklessness, and they're all three different.
Then there's intent,
and there's intent, which
then there's intent.
Takes us over to murder. But we are going to talk a lot about that today, as soon as we get through some of this news. So
that's keep it up with Alec Baldwin. We'll keep you any of these cases that we've brought up in greater detail before. We want to kind of stay on top of and keep us moving. One of those things was Officer Dages out in La Mesa, California. And man, I've had fun commenting on La Mesa PD's Instagram and Facebook and drawing the well-deserved attention for trying to railroad Officer Dages in a use of force case. He was cleared in court, which is awesome.
Which is big for law enforcement because there is proof that you can stand up to the man. You can stand up to the city council, the city manager, the assistant city manager. I mean, when law enforcement faces, when you're an officer and you face something like this, you're not just fighting internal affairs. You're not just fighting your frontline supervisor. You're literally going to battle with the city council, city. Some of them have a commission or like a board, like a civilian review board that we have to go through. I mean, you're going through layers and layers and layers. And, you know, you'd think, I know that with Raleigh, I don't know that anybody's ever beat out the system. As far as I know, I've got a case right now because I was fired for opening up a distillery in a different county legally. And so I have a case going as well, but I don't foresee myself winning that case because nobody's ever won one. Not in 20 something years has anybody ever won a case against the Civil Review Board. So
yeah,
this is big.
It is huge. It's huge for all cops, and quite honestly, a lesser man would have just taken the plea, just taken the offer. And if you guys don't know what we're talking about when we say Officer Dages, and maybe you didn't hear that episode and you're like, what are you talking about? There's an Instagram account called Clear Officer Dages, Dages, Clear Officer Dages. You can keep up because there's still some battles ahead to rectify this whole thing, put it all to rights. So follow along there. But Officer Tatum had done a breakdown, and then we did a version ourselves. We brought on Officer Dages' wife, who spoke at length about the case. We showed video. We broke it all down. We showed how blatantly obvious that the use of force was not only within the bounds of the law, but it turns out it was in the bounds of the policy. And he was offered 6 figures to just go away. And instead, San Diego County DA and the police department conspired together to railroad Dages for political purposes and for their own reasons that I wish I could explain. Anyway, they lost, which is awesome. So good to see people who try to manipulate to ruin another human being's life just for your own political comfort.
Right.
And to see them lose makes me so happy. So, man, so that's awesome. So congrats, Dages. Yep. It felt good to follow along with that, to send him a text of congratulations afterwards. And the battle's not done because it cost him like almost $100,000
and
to
how much
freaking
time did
defend
his wife
Himself.
Spend? I mean, his wife was like, it was like a full-time job for her.
It was her
She
full-time job,
on it.
basically.
She was getting on every podcast,
yes.
every YouTube. What a great wife. Don't fuck that one up, Dages. Keep her around. And don't mess around. Ghislaine Maxwell, Ghislaine, old Jizzy Lane.
Yeah.
That trial, if that doesn't scare you, I guess one, this is the
scares me
case.
is how hard it's to find information.
It is. And it's one of the biggest cases maybe in the history of sex trafficking, of, ultimate corruption. And it is absolutely being buried. It should upset the fact that they've only pulled 4 witnesses and in 10 days, and they are resting already, coming back on Monday is very, very scary. We see a lot more witnesses. We see a lot more coverage. We see a lot more going on. I mean, they are really, really working hard. And I mean, if you listen to the new Joe Rogan episode, Jimmy, who was that guy with the doctor?
Dr. McCullough.
Peter McCullough?
Yes. What a great episode. But I mean, gosh, man, there's some really scary things going on right now that we as all Americans should be questioning and probably should be demanding answers for. And I think that this is one of these cases that we should, the fact that they're only pulling 4 witnesses up, and I do from the information I'm reading right now on this Ghislaine Maxwell case, dude, I think she might get away. I think she might get off of this one.
It's crazy. And when you hear that our own law enforcement agencies at the federal level are withholding information, information is being protected and kept out of the trial. That's for all practical purposes, from what any common sense person would understand, is relevant to what they're actually trying to accomplish in this prosecution. It's like there's a prosecution happening for the sake of saying they did something, but yet, like we talked about this before, all those children that were trafficked from Haiti through Florida, in association with like Clinton Foundation and stuff. All that information, they weren't allowed to bring that in. There was so much stuff, and it's like the FBI is withholding where are those kids even?
Yeah, it's all very weird.
They're not even making it public. It's scary what's going on.
Scary what's going on, and if you're not keeping up with the case, you should. And I think there should be a lot more media pressure on getting more facts of this case out, because we get so much bullshit from other cases, but this is the biggest case, and we can't even get anything. Like, I fucking spew out some bullshit.
I get that cameras don't go into federal court.
I understand that.
I get that, and that's fine. I mean, could you change the rules and make that different now in 2021? Yeah, you sure could. But that's fine. But we're not even getting – it's not making Fox, CNN headlines, right? It's not even out there every day with updates and pressure on those that are concealing information about the harm of children, and it's just mind-boggling.
The main headline right now is Ghislaine Maxwell's jail conditions are torturous. You know what I mean? Like, that's where all your headlines are. Your headlines aren't even involved. And then, in the wake of all of this, you have the CNN guy who just got found
another one. Now there's two.
Yeah, two CNN guys. The latest one was training parents how to put their children up for sexual slavery.
One of these guys was a producer for Chris Cuomo.
It's insanity, man. It's absolutely insanity what's going on. And the fact that like CNN came out and talked about how like there is no epidemic of child sex trafficking.
Yes, there is.
Say something like that. Why even say something like that?
It's not even disputable.
That we as all Americans from every race, origin, religion, anything. One thing that we really can rally around is children, the weakest of the weak, the people who need they need everything. They need all things. Children can't do anything on their own. They have to be taught, they have to be nourished, they have to be groomed. And to take advantage of that, I think is one of the worst things you could ever, like one of the biggest things. It makes me so angry.
Right. Like there's like this, there's a game out there with cops and bad guys, right? Kids grew up playing cops and robbers, and there's a game, and I don't say a game like in a trivial sense. It's because it's happening in the real world, but there is a sense of like you could be standing there with a guy that you just arrested for assaulting another person and a couple other violent type crimes, and then the next prisoner over had harmed a kid, and you both could like high five each other at seeing this guy get brought down. There's a sense of like unspoken rules between cops and bad guys, right? There's certain lines you don't cross, and most criminals don't support killing cops. And no cop and no criminal, the average criminal. This is why in prison, it's like if you harm kids, you're fair game in prison, because even the bad guys know there's a line that you don't cross. Like it's nuts.
So anyway, that's an interesting case, and I hope that I hope that people really kind of demand that we be able to have full transparency for this trial, and that that the news is actually being reported from this trial. And there's a lot of names that people want to know about, and I get it. You got to protect people's safety, because just because you were on a plane or just because you did doesn't mean you were guilty of anything. But I think
I narrowly avoided controversy with being associated with Epstein this week when I was so damagingly photoshopped into a photo with Epstein on Facebook.
I heard your name's on there.
I am not on any manifest. I'll tell you that right now. In other news, going west, we head to San Francisco, which San Francisco has been the poster child for lawlessness and defunding the police. It doesn't get any more anti-cop than on the political side of things than San Francisco. And the mayor has finally had enough. So I want to browse this article real quick. There it is. Beautiful. Thank you. Irving Kristall. Whoa.
She had a very long finger, by the way. She's pointing at
Oh, okay. Here we go. In July 2020, okay, Breed, the mayor of San Francisco, announced her plan to defund the police, cutting $120 million from the law enforcement fund social programs. Result? Crime skyrocketed. Oh, you don't say. I mean, literally like an 8-year-old, if you explain to them what defunding the police meant, oh, they're going to take this. An 8-year-old would be able to know, well, wouldn't that mean more bad guys are going to do bad things? And be like, yeah, that's smart. So it said today in San Francisco. Whoa, what? Where'd you go? I'm not gonna be able to scroll. Oh, he's got to give me the mouse. Sorry for that crazy delay. The underpaid producer has a very important phone call apparently that he has to take, and I have no idea how to make this move. So I'm just going to wing it. Anyway, let's pick back up. San Francisco is more dangerous than 98% of U.S. cities. In November alone, there were 3,375 reports of larceny theft citywide. Don't forget, in San Francisco, guys, you can literally, if it's under, what do you know? Remember the number? It's $900 some. Tansey, like
I thought it was like under $200, but
if it's somewhere is like $900 is the threshold. If you walk into like multiple Walgreens have closed down because they can't sustain the theft anymore.
Did you see the pictures of the where they put all the barbed wire and concertina wire around the shopping areas, the high-end stores to prevent people from smashing grabbing?
No.
So it like literally looks like a post-apocalyptic war zone, just like circle strands of concertina wire. It's really insane. Did we just lose Mike?
I'm back.
He's back, baby. Oh, we switched sides.
We switched sides. That's how we do it. We switch hit here.
Here, I can fix it real quick. Give me a second.
Yeah. I'm so curious. Who is this phone call from, underpaid producers? I mean, that was so important.
It was the dealership, and my car is ready.
Your car is still going to be ready after the show.
No, but I didn't know if it was the dealership or somebody that was calling about the home edition I want to do. So I was like, This
has nothing to do with the show, guys.
I had to take it.
Hey, listen. If people want to know why I call him the underpaid producer, why do I keep him underpaid? It's because of stuff like this.
Man,
we're in the middle of a show. We're in the middle of we are the #1 law enforcement meets culture podcast in the universe. And your car transmission, what? Next thing are you gonna call about your extended car warranty and figure that out while we're live?
Yeah.
Everybody go to the underpaid producer's Instagram and blitz it, spam it.
Thanks.
With I don't know what. Anyway, can you bring the article back up so we can actually get back to business around here?
Oh, I forgot.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, I'm so sorry.
Adam says, calm down, Mike.
I didn't mean to. Dude, I added it. Gosh, okay.
All right. Back to San Francisco. Where do we leave off? You were talking about when I so crazily exited the studio, you were talking about cantina wire or something like that, putting around stuff?
You were talking about the daily amounts.
No, yeah, it was just like they put concertina wire around some of the big.
Yeah, they made stealing basically decriminalized. Okay, in the Central District, home to many of the city's tourist hotspots, there were 876 reports of smash and grabs, almost 30 a day, a 98% increase from the year before. In the Tenderloin District, there are midday shootings, and residents are forced to walk in the middle of the streets to avoid drug dealers and homeless people lying on the sidewalk shooting up. San Francisco residents now have a 1 in 16 chance of becoming a victim of violent or property crime. 1 in 16. That's nuts. No wonder it's literally the worst city in America right now. Keep scrolling down. The crime wave finally convinced Breed to reverse course. It's time the reign of criminals who are destroying our city, she said, to come to an end. She is refunding the police, increasing the budget to $689 million in the 2022 to 2023 fiscal year, nearly matching the all-time high. And she is ordering police to combat the rash of retail thefts, conduct felony warrant sweeps, stop open-air drug dealing and substance abuse, and establish safe passage for citizens.
Didn't we see this in New York? About a decade ago? where they were like, enough's enough. And then stop and frisk came, and then everything got back to normal. We got comfortable. And then we thought, well, now it's not easy enough to commit crimes anymore. So we're going to get rid of stop and frisk. And this is kind of like when we talk
bail
about
reform.
Pendulum. We talk about that pendulum swinging, and you see it finally going the other way. The pendulum has been going the opposite direction since probably 2012 or 2010. And so you had like a full 10 years of the pendulum going against law enforcement. And now after 10 years, we're getting the swing the other direction. So now is a good time to be a cop, because you're still at the pendulum way over here, but your whole ride as a cop right now, the pendulum's going to be swinging the other way. So your whole career is going to be kind of gravy train for the next 10 years. So now would be a great time to become a cop.
Yeah, she said, where did that go? What I'm proposing today and what I will be proposing in the future will make a lot of people uncomfortable, and I don't care, Breed said. The time has come to be, quote, more aggressive with law enforcement, more aggressive with the changes in our policies, and less tolerant of all the bull crap that has destroyed our city. Now, is this
they have to do something, because people are getting fed up. I mean,
well, people are fleeing San Francisco at record rates.
And people aren't opening businesses, and they've got a real problem on their hands. And like I said, when you look at these pictures of fine, fancy businesses putting concertina wire, you think they're going to keep that concertina wire out front of, Macy's forever, or, Chanel forever? You think Chanel wants razor wire outside of there? No, they're going to simply pack up and move to Florida. Probably.
This is the same way Detroit used to be. And now, but it took a long time to change. San Francisco, the politicians, Nancy Pelosi and other representatives of that city in her district, this mayor, all of them have done not irreparable damage, but they have damaged that city for at least the next 10 years. This is not something that's just going to change overnight. The tide has to shift, and there has to be a walking back just to get back to where you were, let alone make progress.
Here's a Tanstradamus prediction for the next 10 years.
Tanstradamus, I like that. Tanstradamus.
They're going to go hard in the paint for the next 5 years. After the 5-year mark, the law enforcement's going to get a little too comfortable with running and gunning, and they're going to be really taking people down. Then you're going to start seeing some news of the corruption going on. A lot of these criminals are going to get upset, and they're going to try to civilly sue a lot of their law enforcement officers. And then it's going to be a 5-year shift again. And so at the 10-year mark, 10 years from now, we're going to be right back to where we're at today. So history always repeats itself. So they're going to go hard in the paint for 5 years, and they're going to start to diminish for the next 5 years. And then we're going to be right back to where we are in 10 years, and then take another 10 years. It's just going to
it's literally the opposite. The sort of like broken window theory that was applied in New York City coming out of the 80s. And if you guys don't know, I mean, New York City was a cesspool in the late 70s into the 80s. I mean, it was disgusting. The crime was out of control, and there was a ton of corruption in the police department at the time, a lot. And they shifted this by focusing on that broken window theory, which I believe in wholeheartly. You have 100%. To start dealing with the little things so that you stop it before it grows into something big. You have to cut it off early so that it doesn't develop. And now what San Francisco did was try, and so many cities, is try the opposite. Well, let's just let the little things go. It's a big deal if someone pees in the street? Is that really that big of a deal? Someone takes a candy bar from a store. Is that really that big of a deal? Like, let's just decriminalize this stuff. And if we give them this space to express themselves, then they won't want to do bigger crimes. And we have 6,000 plus years of human history recorded. I think. I mean, maybe I'm off on that. Some scientist or historian can correct me. We have enough data at this point, people, to know that doesn't work. It doesn't work. We live in a world where people are going to do more and more bad stuff if their intentions are bad. And so you have to cut it off early.
Yeah, well, it's getting cleaned up, and I think the world is I think we have seen the light. And I think like I said, the pendulum is going the other way, which is a great time to buy our t-shirt, Defund the Police, written in the same font as the Defund the Police. So now's the time to get your Defund the Police. It's a perfect time. Use that promo code GU.
We're going to be talking about Kim Potter, but we have one more case that's related because she went to grab her taser, but she didn't. But somebody did grab their taser, Man dies after he is shot by the police with a stun gun. I hate when they call it stun guns. It's not accurate.
Yeah.
A taser.
Yeah, that's terrible.
New York's Attorney General said her office would investigate the man's death, which followed an altercation in an upstate police station. New York's Attorney General is investigating the death of a 29-year-old man who was badly burned, and he didn't die on the scene. He died in the hospital when he was shot with a taser after dousing himself with hand sanitizer during an altercation with police officers. The man, Jason Jones of Catskill, died Wednesday at a Syracuse hospital where he had been burned in a burn unit since shortly before the confrontation on October 30th, or after the confrontation on October 30th in the village police station. Wow, that's nuts. So, I mean, does the officer bear any responsibility if you're?
Well,
provided the fight is justified.
Did he douse himself in hand sanitizer to slick himself so that he couldn't be
like a greased pig?
Yeah, is that what I'm picking up on right here?
Cue the Benny Hill music in the in lockup, trying to wrestle this guy to the ground while he's all.
I'll tell you this. I was training a rookie, and we went to a call, and a guy came outside and doused himself in gasoline, and had the can of gas coming and was told, like, "Come get me, bitch! Come arrest me!" You know, and my rookie was like, had him at gunpoint. And then the guy started walking towards him, and I said, "Yo, dude, turn around and run. Let's go. And he was yelling, "Tase him, tase him." And I was like, run. Because I wasn't really willing to shoot this guy and kill him over this. But I knew at the same time, if this dude lights that shit up, I don't want to get burned. So I've got no problem doing a, not a retreat, but like, let's fall back and regroup and figure out a smarter way to do this. When it was all said and done, we ended up getting the guy. He ended up going down to his knees and putting his hands behind his back and dropping the lighter, and we got him. And afterwards, the rookie was like, "Yo, why didn't you tase him?" And I said, "Dude, like a tasing is electricity. It's just like you don't use a cell phone at a gas pump, you know." And I don't think that cord's long. You know, I don't think that cord is long enough. I use a cell phone at a gas pump. Well, you're above the law.
I also smoke. I smoke at gas pumps. I live on the edge.
You live on the edge, but you know.
And then you take the button, and shove it in your gas tank.
I did not.
Yeah, and I put my cigarette out in my gas tank and close it.
I did not think that hand sanitizer would catch
FTW.
Looks like it did. Poor guy. So now what do we do?
Poor guy. I guess lesson learned. If you are going to fight the police, I would not douse yourself in flammable fluids.
And is it the police's responsibility to know that the hand sanitizer is going to catch on fire? Because I'm going to be honest with you, I made hand sanitizer for 4 months straight during the pandemic at my distillery, and still distilling co. Shameless plug. Made lots of hand sanitizer, and I knew coming out of the still it's very flammable. But once we diluted it with peroxide and all the other things, I did not think it would be all that flammable. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if I don't think officers should be responsible for knowing the flammability of every variety of sanitizer that exists. And if you fight with the police and you're going to get tased, then I guess you're taking that risk on yourself, and the risk didn't pay off.
You're taking the risk of falling. What could happen when you fall? I mean, lots of things can go wrong when you get tased. So how about this? Just don't fuck around and you won't find out. Before we jump into our next tasing case, this holiday season, the best deal in wireless can only be found at Mint Mobile. Right now, when you switch to Mint Mobile and buy any 3-month plan, you will get another 3 months for free. As the first company to sell premium wireless services online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton. With phone plans starting at just $15 a month, I've been using Mint Mobile long before this holiday deal, and I have to say it's the perfect time to switch. With my other show, Tailgate Legends, was just wrapped up for the season. We were going to all these tailgates. Our Mint Mobile came in handy a lot. If you are a police officer, if you're a sergeant, if you're any kind of a supervisor or training officer, you're gonna want at least 1 or 2 of these little Mint Mobile phones on the squad. It's $15 a month. That way, if your phone gets taken away, but you got to have that additional backup phone. I use this Mint Mobile as my primary phone. It's just that good. The best offer of the year is here for a limited time. So you get 3-month plan and you get 3 months for free. And the reason why they get these costs so low is because they don't have retail locations. So they cut all that cost of retail locations and they're just online only. That gives you tons of savings. With Mint Mobile, you can choose the amount of monthly data that's right for you and stop paying for data that you never use. Use your phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with your existing contacts. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. For a limited time, buy any 3-month Mint Mobile plan and get 3 months free by going to mintmobile.com/wolfpack. That's mintmobile.com/wolfpack. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/wolfpack. I cannot stress it enough. If you're a law enforcement officer, get another Mint Mobile phone. Have it as your backup office phone for the department. Take pictures with that phone. Call your CIs, your confidential informant.
That way, when they Baldwin you with a search warrant, they got nothing.
You're losing $15 a month and not your $200 a month, whatever plan it is. And then get
they don't
your own
they don't see that search for volunteer fireman calendar.
Yep. All right, back to the meat of the show.
Here we go, baby. We're breaking down the Kim Potter case.
Listening, this is the 56-minute mark. This is the tag. This is the meat of the thing we are talking. All things Kim Potter. We're talking about tasers versus gun. I know there's a lot of questions that we've been getting all week, or ever since this case really broke out, and that's how does somebody not know the difference of a taser and a gun? I've watched several breakdowns. Kind of disappointed in some of the other officers that are breaking this case down. I feel like they should know better.
And let me preface this too. Like, you have done the research on this one. I'm aware of the case, but with me being out of town and everything, like, you really dug in on this one, which I appreciate, by the way. So I'm going to have questions for you. So that's my first question. When you say that you've seen other officers break this down and you've been disappointed, what is it that has disappointed you when you hear other officers talking about this?
Well, I think if you take anything outside of the totality of what it is, there's a lot of room for speculation, and there's a lot of room to kind of make quick decisions on whether somebody's guilty or not guilty by not going through the totality. So saying that somebody shot somebody with a gun and not a taser is negligent. I heard one officer say, "Man, I'm a cop. I'm a fighter. I'm on the street all the time. I know the difference between my gun and my taser, and there's no way." And he just went on this huge rant that's got hundreds of thousands of views.
Yeah.
But this is not something that's never happened before. And also, if you are an alpha, and not all police officers are alphas, if you are of the warrior mindset, which not all officers are of the warrior mindset, and some of the cops that do have that warrior mindset would say all cops should have it. But we have a whole bunch of citizens, whole bunch of politicians that say that officers should not have a warrior mindset and that they should have more of a protector or peacekeeper mindset. So to be fair, you have to have some of both on a department. Obviously, Ms. Potter is not an aggressor. She's not an aggressive police officer. Doesn't appear to be. If you look at the totality of her 26-year career, she has been flawless. She's never been in trouble. And what does that say to two former cops who are street cops who work in a very dangerous area? If you were told that this cop has never been in any trouble, what does that say to you, Mike?
That she's
never been in any trouble.
I would say that that's either, if you don't get any discipline ever in your cop career, you probably haven't been doing much.
Exactly.
Or I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like, I can't imagine.
It just means that you're not putting yourself in situations where you are, because frankly, if you deal with bad people are going to lie. They're going to make accusations about you. They are going to defend their case. And so if you are not proactively policing, then that is not something that's going to happen to you very often, meaning you're not going to go to IA very much and you're not going to get any kind of disciplinary action. It's very simple. If we're going to take regular calls and not be proactive, what I mean by proactive for the citizens out there is if you're not looking for crime to be committed, if we're not driving around and looking for that gang member to try to thwart a shooting, then we are not going to get into any substantial events. We're not going to have any, our adrenaline is not going to go up at all. What we're going to do is then be just responding to incidents. So we're responding to people who have been shot rather than trying to prevent somebody from being shot. And if we're preventing somebody from being shot, we're probably chasing a bad guy with a gun or some kind of high level stress scenario. We're going to be making traffic stops that are high stress level traffic stops. We're not just stopping people going to work with expired registrations. What we're doing is going to those high crime areas, those high gang member areas. And, you know, you're pulling over those cars that are just leaving gang houses, trap houses, circling the block, doing nefarious activities at nefarious times of the day, which then are oftentimes going to lead to foot pursuits or what we call hostile traffic stop, which is somebody that doesn't want to give up their license, doesn't want to roll down their window. And so if you avoid that by being the kind of cop that just takes reports and works traffic accidents and writes tickets for speeding or minor violations at non-nefarious times of day, meaning like work hours or when everybody's out on the road, then you are not going to be put in an opportunity to be in trouble from internal affairs. So this 26-year-old police, or 26-year officer, she's been a cop for 26 years, not 26 years old, was a training officer. And when they pulled over Mr. Wright, they already knew who Mr. Wright was. So I think that adds a whole nother level to the totality of the circumstances. And so just to say that you're an alpha cop and you always know the difference between a gun and a taser, that's kind of a foolish way to present this case, because she is not the type of cop that you are, and you have to understand that. Now, I know that there's going to be arguments in this comment section that say, well, all cops are put on the line to enforce laws. Look, guys, I worked with tons of police officers who have maybe arrested like 10 people in their whole life. Okay. And they're great cops. They're great human beings. They work in the school resource officers. They work Parks Police Department. They work the greenways, making sure that they take more of a role of using, teaching DARE, teaching people not to pick up guns. They do all of the book readings at the libraries that you see. They go to all the shopping malls and help people shop during Christmas. They do all the gifts. And so that is a whole different side of policing. Now, with this case, Mr. Wright, Mr. Dante Wright, a very extensive juvenile career, really, I would say that, because his whole job in life was to rob people. One of the people that he recently robbed was a friend. So months before this happened, this is all happened in Hennepin County, Minnesota. Mr. Dante Wright went home after partying all night, went home with two ladies. Him and a friend went home with two ladies who were roommates. And the one roommate gave $820 to the other female, and then she went to work, and the $820 was for rent. And so the one female took the $820 and stuffed it into her bra as the other lady left. And Dante and his buddy were, quote, going to go out and rob people for the day. And they used some gang slang for it. But that's what she testifies in this case, that they were going to go off and rob some people for the day. So as they get ready to go, at some point, as he's walking towards the door, he pulls a gun on this female and he says, "Give me the fucking money." Oh, and by the way, that slang was, they're going to hit some stains. That was the gang terminology that they used there. Hit some stains, which she understood as slang for robbing somebody. So
devious licks from people.
Once their ride arrived, because they had called for a ride to come and pick them up, the woman said that she would leave with them, but Wright turned around and blocked the door, as in, "You're not coming with us, bitch." He then pulled a black handgun with a silver trim out and pointed it at her, demanding that she hand over that rent money that she had just received, that she had tucked into her bra. And she responded with, "Are you serious?" Wright replied, "Give me the fucking money. I know you have it." The complainant said she then asked him if he was serious, and he said, "I'm not playing around." Wright placed his hands around the victim's neck, choked her, shoved his hand down into the bra, groping her breast while trying to find the money. She managed to free by kneeling down to the ground and screaming as loud as she could. She yelled for them to leave and said that the cops were close. Wright threatened to shoot her, told her, "Give me the money and I will leave. Give me the money and we will just go." Wright then allegedly tried to choke her a second time. The two men eventually gave up and left the scene in a white Cadillac without the cash. So the lawsuit here is sexual assault because he groped her boob, causing intentional infliction of emotional distress, assault and battery, and of course, strangulation. So that was just one case. There's another case that he was wrapped up in that was still pending charge before he died. And that was him and another buddy went and committed an armed robbery where they were going to do a carjacking. The suspect, the accomplice that Wright was with, put his gun on the gentleman's leg and pulled the trigger, shooting the guy, breaking his fibula, causing massive amounts of blood loss. Meanwhile, Mr. Dante Wright, which we'll put a picture. Have you been putting the pictures?
Yeah, he's been putting them up.
Mr. Dante Wright bashed the dude's teeth in, knocking his teeth out after he just got shot in the leg. And then we have a third one where he is alleged that he shot a 16-year-old in the head in 2019 outside of a gas station in North Minneapolis. The filing says that the two were once childhood friends, and Livingston's first ever sleepover was at Wright's home, but the two had a falling out. Livingston survived the shooting, but his mother, Jennifer LeMay, claims that her son suffered serious, disabling, and permanent injuries. The filing also cited Facebook photos allegedly showing Wright with a Smith & Wesson 9mm handgun and alleges that Wright was a member of the Red Tape Street Gang and had a criminal history since 12 years old. So this kid, why is he on the streets? That's something that we should be questioning more than anything. So on this scenario, he's being pulled over for an expired registration, and also at the time, he had a restraining order on him against another female. Now, when they passed by Mr. Wright, one of the officers recognized that the female looked eerily close to the female that had a restraining order against Mr. Daunte Wright. So obviously, Mike, we know what's going on with restraining orders, right? You can't be within whatever the court dictates, no matter what. Doesn't matter if she comes back, she seduces you, she sends you nudes, tells you to come fuck her. If you come over, go to jail. That's it. Doesn't matter. So they pull him over for a registration violation, which, listen, I got pulled over for registration violation the other day in my work truck. Didn't know that our work truck wasn't registered because we just bought it. That I don't think that's a malice or there's no profiling there. Everybody gets pulled over for registration. You got to register your vehicle. So it's a good traffic stop. They do make a good traffic stop. They realize that he does have warrants for his arrest. And so they pulled Mr. Daunte out of the car. Miss Potter, Officer Potter, is standing back away from the two officers that are making the arrest, and she's everything's going great. He gets out of the car, he puts his hand behind the back, and a turn of an eye, which we can't show the video because they're suspending YouTube accounts for anybody that even shows part of the video. However, you can go to YouTube and find the video everywhere. But we know of 2 police accounts that were suspended for showing the video, so we're not going to show it. And so she is kind of taking a backseat role to this. In a flip of an eye, a blink of an eye, Daunte dives into the vehicle and begins to try to put the car in drive. Now, she is kind of standing back. I would argue that in this scenario, you don't know what the guy's trying to do at this point. He does put the car into drive. He does try to move. All of a sudden, she yells, "I'm going to tase him. I'm going to tase him." Then she yells, "Taser, taser, taser," shoots him, and immediately yells, "I just fucking shot him. Oh my God." She breaks down on the road crying. They have to pick her up. The man drives off, wrecks, dies. And
now
so
she's an FTO on this day, is she not?
She is an FTO. But it definitely looks like she has not been in a scenario like this in quite some time. I can tell her stress level, being a police officer and high stress incidents all the time. She definitely was amped up on this. And I think maybe that's because she obviously knows who Daunte Wright is. Now, in the case, they're trying to charge her with first-degree and second-degree manslaughter, which is
both
where this
felonies, right?
Both are felonies, and grand total, I think of this, she would probably be spending upwards of 20 years. Now, first-degree manslaughter is recklessness, right? And so what reckless means that essentially she did something so egregious and didn't intend to kill anybody, but she did something so egregious, so reckless that it resulted in the death. We could, drink to the point of being hammered drunk, get in our car, and then decide to race somebody, killing. That could be reckless manslaughter, right? Like you did something so reckless. Second degree would be like, okay, here's a good example of a first degree manslaughter charge. We put a gun out. There's children all around in our house, and we leave our gun on the table, and one of those kids just grabs a gun and shoots themselves in the face, right? Like it's grossly negligent. Like you knew there was children running around.
I've got here, the first degree manslaughter is defined in Minnesota law, causing someone's death while committing or attempting to commit a lesser crime, a misdemeanor or gross misdemeanor in a way that a reasonable person could foresee would cause death or great bodily harm.
Right.
And then second degree being causing someone's death through culpable negligence, creating unreasonable risk, and consciously taking chances of causing death or great bodily harm.
Right.
Which is an interesting charge because police officers are always consciously taking a risk at harming someone in a use of force situation. Sure. So they lose me on the second degree one. I don't know, a little bit, because it's like, well, the police officer is always consciously aware that if they're going to forcibly take someone into custody who's resisting them, that injury could result.
Right.
You know?
And what we're looking at for the maximum penalty for first degree manslaughter is 15 years. Second degree is 10 years. The reason why they're going after first degree manslaughter in this case is that they're alleging Potter caused Wright's death while committing a misdemeanor. The reckless handling or use of a firearm, which is, like I said, leaving that, knowing that there are children running around your house and you leave that gun unattended, that's reckless. Second degree would be like, I believe, like if you have like a hunting accident, right? Like that might be a bad example. Let me think of another example for second degree and we'll go there in a minute. But second degree is 10 years. And right now what the prosecutors have said is that they will seek longer sentences. And I have a huge problem with this due to aggravating factors, which is that they did with Derek Chauvin saying that he is held to a higher standard because he's a cop. I have a big problem with this. You've got a person who has lived, who has been an officer for 26 years flawlessly and had one terrible. And here's where the word accident comes in. So an accident is you just didn't mean to do it. You're driving down the road and there's a car that stops in front of you and you freak out and you hit the gas pedal instead of the brake pedal and you smash into that person. You accidentally smash into them. You weren't negligent. You're
culpable, but not negligent.
Is that the right word for that? Culpable negligence versus negligence.
No, culpable is saying you're guilty.
Culpable would be like your firearm is out on the table. Negligent would be like.
No, I'm saying like if you are the cause, you are culpable. So like she really did shoot him. She's culpable for shooting him.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely, 100%, yes. But was it an accident versus was it reckless negligence?
Right.
And so in this particular case, that's where the defense is trying to prove that this was an accident. And here is how I perceive this to be an accident, in my opinion. And this happens about once a year. There's in the last 15, only I think 2 people have been charged with accidentally shooting somebody. So the way that this works, and there's studies that have been done on this, the biggest study being, one second, let me fix my computer here.
Did you come across the name Johannes Messerl in there from BART out in the Bay Area, I guess?
No, I have been going off of Dr. Lawrence Miller, which is
this cop. This happened back in like 2009. Same thing. He accidentally shot someone versus tasing them.
Oh yeah.
And he was found guilty of manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter, and he served time in prison for it. But the family wasn't happy because they wanted it to be murder.
Right. I think only 2 have been charged out of the 15 because there are training flaws here. How things work, and we'll go back to this example, is how many times have you rented a car and you drive with the gear shifting down by the center console? So to put your car in drive, you reach down the center console, you put your car in drive, but you rent a car where the gear lever is up by the steering wheel and you sit in that car and you reach down several times to the center console because that's where you are used to using it.
Yeah.
Your body reacts on what it's trained to do. Now, in a police academy, on average, a cadet or whatever you want to call them will draw their firearm up to 5,000 times, but will only draw their taser on average of about 10 times. And so with these smaller agencies that are just kind of trying to get out tasers and aren't really accredited agencies because they don't have the money, defunding the police style kind of thing, or they're just.
I didn't have a taser in the academy, so I never practiced with it.
Right.
I didn't get that until I went to a department.
Exactly. And that's the case for a lot of departments. And I think our department is you have to be an officer for 2 or 3 years before they'll even give you a taser because there's a lot more responsibilities that come with having a taser. And I totally agree with this because once you go to a legit taser school, and I think the mandatory hours of taser is like 30 hours and our department doubles that. And I totally agree with that as well. And one of the things that they taught us in the academy is this phenomenon where people in high stress situations will draw their gun instead of their taser because your body goes back to what it has been trained to do. And there's a couple of points here that I'd like to make. Again, going to the gear shifting thing, those are kind of accidents. How many times have you put a clock on the wall and then somebody has moved that clock, but you always like poke your head around the corner to see what time it is, and you're like, oh shit, I moved that clock a while ago. And so your body kind of has these like tendencies to want to do what it's been trained to do. Now, when we get in a high level stress situation, a lot of things happen psychologically. We all know that fine motor skills go down, meaning you can't manipulate your fingers very well. But we heard tunnel vision or condition black. What happens when you are in a high stressful situation? Your body will simply focus on the one thing that's going to keep it alive. And that way, here's a good example of this is, how many times have you played a game where they show you something where it's how many times does the man pass the ball laterally? And so you watch this film and these guys are running down the field or something and they're laterally and you're counting it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is, laterally tossing the ball. And then it says, how many times did they lateral the ball? And you're like 13. And they're like, cool. But did you notice the gorilla that was in the back of the screen the whole time? And you're like, holy shit, I didn't, because your body focuses on one thing. Now, sometimes when your mind is saying to do, your body doesn't get to catch up with it, and it results back to training. Here is another example. There are several videos of people who shoot somebody, and then they will look left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, before they get on the radio and they holster their weapon. And that is because when we go to the range, right, they might say, let's do
360
2 rounds
scan.
Right.
Yep.
They'll say, draw your firearm, put 2 in the chest, put 1 in the head. Pat McNamara calls this training theatrics, where it's just
Body
theatrical
armor
behavior that doesn't really mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll draw your pistol and you'll shoot 2 in the chest, 1 in the head. You'll scan left, you'll scan right, and holster your pistol, return to the starting position. That's with your hands up. And you'll hear range instructors at different ranges say something very similar to this. Shoot the red balloon, shoot the blue balloon, scan left, scan right, holster your pistol, return to the starting position. And you'll do this over and over again for 8 hours a day on different range days. So when these guys get in these high stress level situations, they draw their gun, they do their business, and then they go left, right, and they holster. Now, what they should be doing is shooting, finding cover, reloading, getting on the radio, looking for additional threats, guiding people, administering first aid, but their body doesn't catch up because they haven't been trained to do this. In this scenario with the taser, a good training opportunity for the taser is every 10 days, every 15 days, once a month, whatever it may be, is have your squad line up facing away from you being the supervisor or anybody, senior officer on the squad. And you of course, download your pistols, download all of your stuff, hand out the little blue red guns. At every department should have a little box of red guns, the fake pistols, not the Alec Baldwin guns. And you put those in your holster and you turn around and you might be holding a cell phone. And so your 3 guys on your squad might look at you with the cell phone and they say, sir, how are you doing today? My name is Officer so-and-so. And he's like, great. All right, everybody turn back around. And then you turn around, he's got a knife. And so you draw your pistol out and then he drops a knife and you holster your pistol and you draw your taser. And then he goes back to pick up the knife. You holster your taser, pull out your gun. And we do this to train the brain to switch between and manipulate between taser and pistol. Also, another great training point is we put our taser on the left side of your body because your firearm is on your right side of the body, and it's awkward to manipulate a taser from the left side.
Yeah, you don't grab it. Someone asked in the comments, don't you position the taser to grab with your non-dominant hand? No, you would not. You would not grab your taser with your non-dominant hand.
So
some people.
I say you do grab the taser with your non-dominant hand, and here's why. Because of this exact scenario. If you're used to shooting with your right hand, let's make it impossible to mistake a gun from a taser. I know that if there's something in my left hand, that is my taser or my flashlight. My taser and my flashlight never go to my gun hand ever. And so that's just one more step that I have, that I know that I have my taser out and not my gun. Because
here's why I set it up. Obviously when I was on the road, I set it up as a cross draw. So I'm right-handed. So my firearm is on my right side. The taser is on my left side. And I set it up as a cross draw. The reason I set it up as a cross draw, and I normally would unlatch it or release the taser with my non-dominant hand, but I also could reach across and grab it with my right hand, because if my left hand is taken out of the fight, I can still grab it with my right. If my right hand is taken out of the fight, I can still get it out with a cross draw position with my left hand. If I did the regular draw position, like with the handle facing backwards on my offside, and my left hand is taken out of the fight, it would then become extremely difficult for me to access that tool if I needed it. That's why the reasoning, I guess, behind
That's
how
why I kept my
set it up.
pepper spray. I kind of put my pepper spray and my baton on my gun side as well, for that, because I'm probably going to use my taser before I'm going to use my pepper spray. But just for me, and I know a lot of the officers that I worked with, we all used our left hand on our tasers because you don't want to get into a situation. And here's another thing. There's instances where officers have their flashlight out and their gun out. This is called a sympathetic reflex. And that's when you do something with your left hand and your right hand mimics it, because again, dexterity in your fingers and your brain is working on one thing, and that's survival. So it's focusing on the threat in front of you. And listen, there are so many veterans that think they know what they're talking about when it comes to these high stress level situations, and you simply don't. I was a veteran. I've got combat experience. Being a street cop in a high stress situation is completely different than a high stress situation being a soldier. Being a soldier, you're not manipulating tasers. You're not manipulating pepper spray. You're not manipulating batons. You are manipulating 2 or 3 grenade launchers and 5.56 rounds and maybe a pistol. But these are all deadly force scenarios. You're not processing things in your brain about switching to non-lethal, back to lethal, back to non-lethal. Also, you're not worried so much as you are here in America about citizens being behind you and knowing your target and what's behind you. There's a lot of different things that correlate between veterans and cops. This is not one of them. So you haven't carried a taser and been in a high stress situation, it is different. And I'll tell you from my own experience that I have put out a taser and went to stun somebody in the leg and literally pulled it back because I wanted to double check that I had my taser. And that's because it has been beaten into my brain that you can accidentally shoot somebody when you're trying to tase them. It happens about once a year all across the country. It's something that I don't want to be a part of. And I think it's a great service of our department, of the Raleigh Police Department, to train that and to beat that into your brain. And I think it was also great of my supervisors in the Southeast District to reinforce that training by doing these quick draw scenarios offline and things. But if you don't have that, this can happen. Literally, there are some really good officers that have found themselves in the same scenario of accidentally shooting somebody when they meant to tase them. In this scenario, it is obvious that she had no intent in killing this guy. In this scenario, this guy was a bad person who has a history of extreme violence. And in this scenario, you have a man who arguably you could have used deadly force because he was trying to drive away while another officer was physically fighting him inside of a car, and he puts the car in drive. I don't know if you've ever been drugged by somebody. I have briefly been drugged by somebody. By briefly, I mean I was holding onto the window and he took off and I didn't let go in time. And it about snatched my arm out of socket.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because if she would not have said, I'm going to tase him, and then just as he's hitting the gas and resisting, she decided to shoot him, would we be in this trial at all? You know,
well, I don't think we
or
should
would they have deemed it as a justified shooting? And it's kind of like, well, we ended up in the same scenario. It's an interesting
chief, in this case, and this was kind of really big. This is kind of really big news. They brought the chief on the stand. I believe it was Thursday. And when they asked the chief about was her actions justified, and this was by the prosecution, so thinking that he was going to say no, she was not justified in killing him, he actually said, I do believe she was justified in shooting him, because this man did drive away. Now, let me also run you guys some of the citizens, civilians, and cops in the chats here. A couple scenarios that I personally have been in, might chime in on these as well. But I very shortly after the not George Floyd, but the Michael Brown case, I pulled over a Mustang for reckless driving, and it was there was 3 black males in a Mustang, and they were hot rodding all around town. And I had been on bicycle patrol earlier in the day, and they had driven by me several times on my bicycle, flicking me off. At one point, they pulled in front of my
I'd flick you off driving your little bike around too.
Yeah,
probably wearing your short shorts and.
I did it every Sunday. It was my Sunday routine because I grilled for my squad. I made hamburgers and hot dogs for lunch.
You were driving around the hood. Hey.
Yeah. So
flicking your bell. Did you have a little bell on it? Ring, ring.
Yeah, of course we have a bell on it. We got lights on it too. Got little siren and lights on it. They're awesome.
Little basket.
And so what I would do is I don't want to grill in my full dress uniform. So I'd put on a more casual uniform, get on the bike till noon, cook for the squad. And then I'd get to wear shorts and the other thing. And I'd get back in my car and ride the rest of the day. So this car pulled in front of me, smoked its tires to make me kind of drive through a cloud of smoke, just being genuinely obnoxious throughout the day. At another point in the day, they pulled into a Maxway where I was talking to the Maxway guy, just being a good community officer on a Sunday, asking how business was going. The man showed up, squealed, did a little half donut in the parking lot and peeled out. So later in the afternoon, I'm in my car. I see the same Mustang and he burns a red light. And so I pull him over. He pulls down a dirt road, goes an obnoxious length down this dirt road, which is kind of eerie and odd, right? That's not typical to a traffic stop, right? We would pull over on the road instead of going down a dirt road, but he chooses to go down a dirt road. And so I approach the car knowing that this guy's been an asshole all day. And I tell him to put his hands on the steering wheel. And he says, "Oh, why? Do I scare you?" And I said, "Put your hands on the steering wheel." And he says, "What if I don't?" And I said, "Sir, put your hands on the steering wheel." And so I pull out my taser just in case he tries to put the car in drive, quickly realize that we're not allowed to tase people while driving a vehicle. So I then go to holster my taser. I say, this is all happening in my brain, but these are things that you don't understand as citizens, that this is the kind of shit that you have to work through, critically think, right? Under a high stress situation.
Now you might have had that policy at your department,
right?
But some departments don't let you tase anyone that is fleeing on foot for the purpose. If they stiffen up and fall over, they could create a broken face or whatever else. So not every department has the same policies. And real quick, the chief testified in this Potter case that there was no violation of policy.
Yeah.
So they could tase someone in a vehicle, especially, and then of course there's the exigent circumstances that supersedes all policy. Like if you're getting dragged by a vehicle, policy goes out the window. Now it's life or death.
It's survival.
Right.
So, but at the same time, right, we're going through these manipulations of the brain and of your hand. I'm drawing my taser, saying, "Nope, this isn't a taser situation. Let's holster." And then the man starts to reach underneath the seat. And I said, "Sir, what are you doing?" So now I've let go of the taser and I've reached over and drawn my pistol. And he's like, "What are you going to do? Shoot me?" And I said, "Stop moving, sir. Stop moving." He goes, "You're going to shoot me?" And he keeps going. I go, "Sir, I'm going to shoot you." I draw my pistol and he pulls out from underneath the seat a sandwich in a tinfoil wrapper. So he had taken a sandwich and he goes, "You about to shoot me over a sandwich?" And then he throws the sandwich at my chest. So I holster my gun, grab him by the hair, pull him out of the window of this car, beat the brakes off of him, put him in handcuffs. He's fucking completely hammered drunk. There's a 1/4 ounce of weed in the car. I end up pepper spraying while I'm waiting for my backup to get there. While I'm wrestling him, the passengers got out and tried to get involved. I pepper sprayed both of them. And so it was Tansey versus 3 amigos. And of course I win because I'm the Tansey devil. And that's how it goes. Now,
because that's how sommeliers run the streets.
That's right. But let's say I would have shot him. Okay. I would have shot him over a sandwich in tinfoil. And I would
that's what the news would have said. Man shot over a sandwich. And that's not why you would have shot him. You wouldn't be like, what is that, pastrami? Bam! Like that's not what you were doing.
And there's tons of officers that go through these scenarios where they're just about to shoot and they draw back. And in this scenario, again, high stress level for her is not high stress level for me. Now, if I would have been her, and she's obviously not an alpha, right? Like we can look at the pictures and kind of tell she's not an alpha. We can look at her experience as a police officer, not being in any trouble, that she's not an alpha. I mean, this woman is not the warrior mindset police officer that Mike and I, or a lot of our listeners are.
From a professional that's our perception. Now, perception is not always reality. Maybe she was in a bunch of gunfights, or maybe she fought a ton of people, and that But from what we understand from the trial, nothing came out about this long string of multiple high stress incidents that she'd already proven herself in the past. Just our take on it from
right. And being from her chief and from other things, that she was a sweet officer. He used the words "not aggressive officer," or she wasn't relatively aggressive. So, this female officer, in that scenario, which she would have been justified in shooting that guy, she could have shot the guy with the sandwich in tinfoil. I have a little bit more training, a little bit more experience. I'm a little bit more comfortable with beating the brakes off somebody. so I can holster my weapon and yank that guy out of the car. Now, another scenario that also kind of similar is I had a female who was committing suicide, and when I pushed in the door to the bathroom, she was butt naked and she was actively cutting into her wrist. I focused on her cutting into her wrist.
This is when you tased her in the vajayjay, right?
In the vagina. And so,
yes.
1, against policy to tase somebody in the vagina. 2, you should never tase somebody in a bathtub. But because of the rapidly evolving situation and the fact that she was cutting herself, and luckily she didn't die and didn't hit her face on the sink, but I did tase her in the vagina, and both prongs hit her right in the vagina. And so any of these kind of cases can go the other way. And I would argue that all of these incidences would kind of be considered accidental, but not negligent. Just because you have been a police officer for 26 years and you should have the training, is it your fault that you didn't receive that training? Is it your fault as a private in the Army that if you're not briefed on what your rules of engagement are, because you are, let's say that you are a supply clerk and then you find yourself on a convoy and you see something nefarious like a phone call and you believe that this guy is calling in an ambush, and so you smoke him, but that's not part of your rules of engagement, but you were not briefed on your rules of engagement? Are you then, as a private in the Army, are you guilty of murdering somebody? Because it's not your responsibility as a private in the Army to automatically know. It's your supervisor, it's your sergeant, it's your corporal, it's your platoon leader, it's whoever is responsibility to teach you on what that our rules of engagement are.
Do we know when the last time did it come up in the trial or your research when the last time she had been trained on some level with tasers, or did she have a cross draw? How she had her belt set up? Did that come up at all, or?
It did. So spark testing is something that we do every day that you have a taser, that you are, and these are recorded from the taser. Mm-hmm. Tasers are very high in technology. So it can tell you when it was spark tested, when it was deployed. You can't tase somebody and hide it. There are clues. It sends out confetti with numbers on it. Lots of things that go into taser. And but every morning you were supposed, or before every shift, you are to spark test your taser. And that means that you put it on the test mode, you pull the trigger, and it ticks for 5 seconds, and that lets you know that your battery.
Did you ever forget to put it in test mode? Raise your hand.
Oh, and then you shoot into a.
I did it one time in my career. I blasted. Thank God no one was in front of me. You got to treat it like a firearm. But yeah,
we had a guy tase the TV in the squad room, which was embarrassing on its own, and I felt like he should be in more trouble because that was more negligence than an accident. But in any circumstance, if you go through the motions of doing a spark test, if you do it correctly, you will yell, taser, 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 and then you will hit it. So obviously she has trained herself, or her mind has been trained enough that in this high stress situation that her brain still yelled taser, 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 and then she pulled the trigger. Now, if her brain was pulled the trigger on your left hand, she wouldn't have squeezed the trigger on her right hand, which is what her Glock was in. If she had been trained to switch and manipulate between a gun and a taser, then her brain would have fallen back to that training. I would say that she has not gone through or has not practiced in recent times. And that's complacency. And we've all been there. And 20 plus year veteran officers, Derek Chauvin was 18 or 19 years in. That's when complacency really starts to set in. You're thinking about retirement more than you're thinking about survival.
What was she, 26 years? Something like that?
She'd been an officer for 26 years.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
And never been in any trouble. So I think a lot plays into this other than just how do you not know. There is a taser versus a gun. Here is another point I'd like to make for all the veterans out there, because I think the veteran community is one's really coming hard down on this. I was on a fire base, and we had some females come out to our fire base to do finances for us. And we have a shooting barrel, clearing barrel is what they call it. And that's, you come onto the post.
To do finances?
Yeah. So
what does that mean?
To give you your pay stubs, to update your insurances, whatever it is, taxes, whatever, because you're there for 13 months. So, every couple of months, finance would come out. And if you had any finance questions, if your pay wasn't right or correct, or you had questions, they bring, because we didn't have phones back then. You couldn't just get on a cell phone and call a finance person. So they came in and they clear the barrel. That means we take the rounds out of our weapon before we go on post. That way we're not shooting each other on post. So she walks up to the clearing barrel and she racks a round out, but she forgets to drop the magazine. So what does that mean? That means that there is a round still chambered, right? We've ejected one round only to chamber another round because we have a magazine in. Then she pulls the trigger. The gun goes off. It startles her. She goes to flip the gun onto safe, but she doesn't. She flicks her thumb down, which rotates it to 3-round burst. She ejects
I was going to say full auto or 3-round.
She ejects the round that she just fired, still doesn't drop the magazine, pulls the trigger again. A 3-round burst comes out. Now she loses her shit, ejects it again, puts the gun onto safety, pulls the trigger. Nothing happens because it's on safety. And she doesn't hear that metallic click, which is what we're all trained to hear, is that with no bang. That means your gun is clear. She then freaks out and just starts looking around the camp like, somebody come help me clear this fucking weapon. Now, this is a soldier in a combat zone that doesn't know how to clear her own weapon because she's so stressed out after hearing one round goes off that even the simplest function of drop your magazine, rack the round out, rack it 3 times to make sure nothing else comes out, pull the trigger, put the weapon back on safe. That thing that's been trained and beat into every soldier's mind was completely absent of her because one round went off and everything went out the window. Everything that she had been taught, she had forgotten. She flipped the selector switch and it's just chaos. So I believe that this was an accident. I believe that this was a training flaw. I believe that the chief should resign, not because he didn't charge her or because he didn't fire her on the spot, but because he allowed a training flaw like this to happen under his watch.
Yeah, you got to take ownership of how your officers conduct themselves. Right? You got to own that, especially if it's a training point. Like, do you think all roads lead to poor training in this case?
I think so. I think that all roads go to poor training. I think that this simply is an accident. Could we say it's negligence because she didn't train? We could, but we all know cultures in different police departments, cultures in different squads. There are some firefighters out there that train very hard on how to get the hose off of the truck, get it signed up in time, and get water coming out of that hose. And they practice this over and over again until they can't get it wrong. And we know that there's volunteer firefighters that literally show up and watch movies all night. And then when shit happens, they're the last person to get their hose out and it's a fucking chaotic mess. And you can hear it as a police officer watching them argue back and forth. You can tell the difference in squads on how they act at high level scenes, not just from firefighters, from paramedics, from police officers, seeing how somebody manipulates a crime scene or murder scene, putting out crime scene tape, yada, yada, yada. In this scenario, I do honestly believe that this was an accident on her part. I don't think that she had the train. Now, I might be wrong. They might have said this bitch went through fucking taser training the other day and she's just a dumbass. Being a dumbass isn't a crime, unfortunately. And I don't know that she was a negligent dumbass. I don't find negligence in not being tactically sound. That is your department's fault. That is your department not doing stress-oriented police training. Yeah. Meaning we're not shooting you in the throat with sim rounds. We're not putting blank rounds into firearms while we're doing training to surprise you and to scare you to see how you react, not yelling at you in an academy, not kind of going through what some people call bullying or shaming in the academies. I call it learning points. You want to see how somebody's going to react when they're being called fat and when they're being called stupid and dumb. I'd even argue that you should be able to ensure you should be able to use racial slurs, because whatever it takes to get your blood pumping is what they need to do. And if you get a hardened soldier,
you're preparing them for the real world.
So let's say you have a black soldier who is fucking a Green Beret and he's coming out of fucking mean streets of Tal Afar, Iraq. And he's got all this training and experience on taking down bad guys. Well, when we get him in the academy, getting his stress level up by push-ups isn't going to work. That motherfucker does push-ups for a living. Running for a long distance, motherfucker's been running for 16 years, 14 years, 10 years, how long he's been a Green Beret. He's been doing that. Shooting on the range, motherfucker can shoot with a blindfold on if he wanted to. So that's not stressful. Driving, not stressful. He's driven through IED alley. So what can we do to see how this guy's going to react? Maybe you have to drop mama jokes. Maybe you have to drop racial slurs on this guy. Maybe there's something that you've got to do to get underneath this guy's skin to find his breaking point, to see how he's going to act, and then train him and teach him how to act.
How to deal with it. Yeah.
And so it's not bullying. It's not shaming. It's simply high stress level scenarios. And that's why when departments whine and bitch about, well, you don't understand why we got to do these stress fires. Well, it's because when you get into this scenario, even if you work on a nicer side of town, you don't know when Dante Wright is going to be rolling through your side of town.
Yeah.
You don't know. You simply don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point, especially the training. The training is, in some sense, even more important in departments that may not see high stress incidents on the regular. You know, when your normal is like, hey, I know I'm suiting up, and you're basically anticipating that you're going to have an adrenaline dump, a spike, something crazy happen. If that's your normal, there's a lot of sense in which your day-to-day in the job is a continual progress of training because you're in it every day. And then if you are not sort of in it every day, well, how much more valuable is the training that simulates that as close as possible, you know, where you're taking it seriously. But we've all seen it in police departments too, where people don't take training seriously. They bang in sick, they do whatever it takes to like smoke and joke during the training, which I mean, I'm constantly cracking jokes even in training, but you know, that's my personality. But you don't take the actual training seriously. You feign injury to get out of something early, and you're just setting yourself up for failure. You're putting yourself in a position that's going to be a Kim Potter situation.
It starts at the supervisor level. It stops at your immediate supervisor level, not I'm talking frontline supervisors. These are your senior officers. Any cop that's been on a squad for more than 5 years, that's where this stuff starts. It's up to those guys, right? Your corporals, your first line sergeant. It starts in the gym before your pre-morning, your pre-shift workout. And that's motivating your guys. Hey guys, come in today. We're going to work out together. Maybe we do it twice a week. Our squad did it every shift. You weren't mandatory to be there, but if you weren't there, you got shamed for it. Guys made fun of you.
Yeah.
You skip gym out. You skip the gym today. Then when you're doing that, those 5-year officers, man, we used to do things where it was like we would sprint on the treadmill, get off. We had a target. We had an FBI silhouette target inside the gym, and they had a dry fire pistol and a belt. And when it was your time, you'd put on that belt with the dry fire pistol. You ran your, 400 meter, 300 meter sprint on the treadmill. You got off and you did 10 quick draws and squeezed, getting faster every time before the shift. So before the shift, you're already working. And we did taser drills the same way. Also, when we did our taser training, when we did our testing thing, it wasn't just going through the motion of saying taser, taser, taser. Oftentimes a senior officer would grab somebody and say, hey, listen, in this scenario, somebody pulls out a knife. I want you to holster your thing. And we're just going to talk through this. Taser to making you make these mental decisions. And that way we don't have training faults like this one. I don't see this being manslaughter. I don't see this being negligent. You have somebody who's been an officer flawlessly for 26 years. I think where the fault is here is you've got a fucking dirtbag who did dirtbag things, and he's taking a dirt nap as a result of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the way that he's portrayed in the trial, I did see a blurb yesterday where his father testified, and don't get me wrong, like, it's a terrible thing, right? If you're a dad and your son is now dead, and he had a kid, and that's an emotional thing, and all these human experiences and human relationships are to be valued, but who broke that cycle of valuing humanity was Dante. He made decisions. That's who he was. He wasn't just this poster child of a new father. He was an active violator of common law and decency. He was fighting to flee capture from a police officer. And so the ultimate responsibility isn't just on Potter. I do find that the angle that is most interesting is this idea of the level of force. And it's kind of like, I think that question is valuable. If she would have drawn a gun and said, stop the car, and then fired, would we be talking about this case?
Yeah.
Outside of saying like whether that was justified or not, but the taser thing. But
It's a white person. It's a white officer shooting a black person. We know this to be factual because when we talked about the Arizona shooting, where it was a white cop shooting an unarmed white man in his apartment, nobody gave a fuck about that case. I mean, I think we're the only human beings that did a breakdown on that case.
Yeah.
You can't find a podcast about that case. So, and the fact that it is no different of a scenario than this, I think because of the racial implications here, because there is a narrative that goes out that we need to end some kind of systemic racism, whatever it might be, that we're only going to report on when a white cop kills a black person. Remember, we had a black cop that shot a white Australian woman? Not too far from there, correct?
I don't know.
It was a black officer shot like a white Australian woman. And
Minneapolis. Yeah,
it was in Minneapolis.
She was like in the yoga pants or whatever. Like there's just some lady like coming out of her apartment.
I think that was an accident, right? Like that was an accident too.
I think that was
we
the
don't know
defense,
anything about
right,
that case, and nobody gave a shit about that case. As a matter of fact, somebody in Australia actually sent us a message. They're putting us patches in the mail, and they asked if we would specifically break down that case, which I think is really funny that it comes up right now. But we do have a narrative, but I think as a citizen, as a civilian, if you were going to be fair and not political, you have to look at the woman who had spent 26 years serving her community. There is no corruption, Mr. Dystopia. She was not a corrupt human being. This was a very nice, kind lady who did lots of things for lots of races, for lots of people, who had a flawless 26-year career. She came in contact with a very violent individual.
No discipline.
Which I would say,
no, whatever.
She pulled her gun out, and she had reason to pull her gun out. When you are approaching somebody who has a violent felony warrant, or even if that's a violent high-end misdemeanor warrant, you're allowed to have your gun out. I encourage you to have your gun out. If somebody doesn't have their gun out, I would question your tactics there, because this is the kind of guy that this kid has shot somebody in the head. This kid has been with another gang member that shot somebody in the leg, and then he bashed the dude's teeth in over a carjacking. And he also choked a girl at gunpoint, stealing $820, who just let him spend the night in their house because they couldn't find a ride after going to the club at night. This is a very bad, evil person who has had a career of crime since he was 12 years old. If anything is flawed here, if anything is negligent here, it's the criminal justice system and the parents of Daunte Wright.
Yeah. Interesting, right? When we talk about, we broke down, we had our episode, was it last week, how to stop school shootings or how to deal with that. And the parents of this kid in Oxford, Michigan are being charged also. And it's like, well, I think Daunte is a legal adult, but that's the slippery slope we're talking about. Well, why isn't his dad charged with this kid being? That's who he raised.
Right? Yeah. Where's the negligence?
Yeah. That whole conversation. That's why people are questioning the charging of those parents, because it creates a slippery slope and a precedent of, well, how to what level of responsibility are you going to hold someone else for the crimes that someone else commits? Fascinating discussion. The mistake, the error, when she says she's going to tase them and then shoots, and she in the moment admits and acknowledges that she didn't intend to do that, right? That is she culpable of something? Yeah. First, like going away, like they say the average time spent for first degree manslaughter and second is 7 years is what they'll average do. And then for second degree is an average of 4 years for time actually sentenced.
Right. But
so she's looking at,
years.
I know,
they're
a maximum.
She's
looking at a lot of time in prison for doing what? For, yes, she is responsible for that loss of life, but man, with zero intention, I don't know, man.
Here's a great point from Justin Filson. I don't know how true this is, Justin, but it says, have you guys looked into the fact that her being a house mouse, which just means she worked in an office clerical position, which, she looks like type, to be honest with you. She looks the type that would have that kind of position, and that's me profiling there. But and then 6 weeks before the stop, she was pressed back onto patrol. Why was she pressed back onto patrol? Defund the police, COVID retirements. And that's why I talked at the beginning of the show that there are many cops out there. Parks Police. I know one female officer, wonderful woman. And her job in life was designing coffee mugs for the police department, the pencils, the stress balls, the little Christmas cups and mugs that you get for Christmas. She did all the Dare posters. She did all the design work. She was a full-fledged officer with a gun, the taser. She had all the things on her thing. She still had to qualify. That woman had not put hands on somebody or arrested somebody since like 95 or 96. And she used to tell me all the time in her office, say she had to go back on patrol. She would have no idea what the fuck to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why she doesn't do take homes. She's like, I change out and get my own personal car because I wouldn't even know how to do a rec report. And so you don't know that. Is it her responsibility because she's had zero training, zero stress related training in the past 15, 20 years of her, of her days as being the police community liaison officer? That's not her fault. And should she be trained? Yes. But how much training do you think that they are implementing to the community liaison officer of a big major city department?
Yeah. The reason my take is that she should not be found guilty. Here's oh, man, this is tough. She is responsible for taking that life, right?
Civilly.
We
Civilly.
know that. Yeah, but criminally. No. Even the description, and we popped them onto the screen, even the description of what first and second degree manslaughter is, she wasn't putting herself or putting Dante Wright in a situation in which she was being negligent. She was doing her job, and I do think poor training or lack of repetition in that training, she did the wrong thing, clearly. And 100%. I think the value of excited utterances is really important. People tend in the heat of the moment to speak exactly the truth, and her reaction on the body cam indicates absolutely no intention to utilize her firearm, even though she probably could have. That's an important aspect of this. She could have used her firearm. It rose to that level. But, man, I don't think that it meets this idea that I'm knowingly putting in a situation where I'm going to cause harm to this person that is going to be deadly. Tasers are not non-deadly force. They're less lethal, not less than lethal. That's important. Hear me out. Tasers, this is a common thing in culture, a common thing among people who think they understand something. They call tasers less than lethal. That is not accurate. Tasers are less lethal devices because people can die. We showed the guy that doused himself in freaking sanitizer and then got lit on fire from a taser. He died as a result of a taser. It was lethal use of a taser. It's less lethal. There's less likelihood of lethality resulting from the use of a taser than it is with a firearm. Doesn't make it that. So is she culpable? Yes. But does she meet the criteria for first or second degree manslaughter? The jury's going to decide. I don't think so. And I hope that if the jury does find her guilty, I certainly hope that the judge understands that maximizing a jail sentence, what are we accomplishing as a society by locking her away? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing is accomplished by putting her behind bars.
Right. I mean, well, one thing you are accomplishing is political justice, right? Like, so in the eyes of politics, it's going to be good for some, and they're going to use it for content and whatnot. But, I would say if you are a police officer listening to this, train your officers, make it upon yourself to go through these scenarios so this doesn't happen to you. And don't be so egotistical to think that this can't happen to you. You should be scared that it can happen to you. And then I always had anxiety that this would happen, to the point where I went to dry stun somebody and I pulled back just to make sure I wasn't shooting. That's how much this was on my brain, carrying a taser. And I think if it is on your brain and it is something that you beat into your rookies' brains and into the people that your training's brains, that they won't have this accident. That happens once a year. Please take the time, and also train to win all the time, right? Like let's get in the gym, let's do some jujitsu, and let's make ourselves better cops so that we're not put in
100%. I think you hit the nail on the head, dude. I think that they are civilly responsible, 100%, and I think that the department can and should have to take that responsibility, especially the chief. But criminal, man, just I just don't think so. I just don't see it. I just don't see it that way. But hey, that's just our opinion, and that's our breakdown, guys. Thank you, Eric, for stepping up and digging into this case to share it with us and let me ping questions and thoughts back off of you, and the stories that resulted. Guys, be sure to go over when you leave here, find the Failure to Stop podcast channel on YouTube and give that a subscription and hit the notification bell. Eventually, at some point in the new year, we are going to be moving over to broadcast live from there. We're trying to grow the channel to a point that we can do that consistently and effectively. So thank you for going to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We will always be putting clips and shorts. We're going to start filling that channel with content. So if you are a YouTuber, YouTube community, and that's your preferred platform to consume content, we're going to be there. We're going to keep trying to grow it. So thank you so much. Go leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. Follow, subscribe, like it, share the show. Thank you to everyone who is helping us keep this thing going.
There's 314, 312. Hit the like button before you leave, please. Does a lot for us.
Yeah, baby. Guns up, giddy up, everyone. And real quick before you go, if you're still here, no, we are not doing night shift for the rest of the year. We're kind of like a little holiday break, but we are going to be live Tuesday. We are going to record our next Friday's release show for Christmas. We're going to be live on Tuesday night nonetheless for the show. It won't be night shift. It's just going to be kind of like a Christmas special. So join us Tuesday night. Next year, we've got lots of things on hopes for the show, different things planned, and we're excited to share them with you. You can look for a few random bonuses, and we've got lots going on, and we're excited for the new year. So thank you for being on the journey with us, and tell someone about the show.
Taser up.
That's in bad taste on this episode.
Oh, fuck.
No, I don't know. Whatever. Taser's up. Taser's
Tasers up, giddy up, brother.
Yeah. Kitty taser, baby.
See you
All
guys
right.